Hi, this is my presentation on the technological progress and its effects on the digital divide. I'm Neil Bandari, and I'm in section RVC of CGS 3095 for Professor Ron. This is for spring 2024. And with that, we'll get right into it. So to start off, we'll start with the introduction, which will cover just a few key points of what we're going to be covering in this presentation. To begin with, we will start about the evolution of technology, how things have developed to the stance where they currently are, how technology is still developing from its original roots, and we'll cover things such as the Industrial Revolution, sort of the roots of the technological divide, and how things have gotten to where they are now. Next, we'll talk about what the digital divide actually is, why it's such a core issue, and how it can be sort of balanced and mitigated with the progress of technology as it continues forward. Then we'll talk about how societal progress is a result of technological development, which basically means that society is driven forward as technology develops. For instance, even the discovery of fire allowed for society to form in the first place, right? And in many ways, learning how to start fires was the first form of technology that humans really were able to access, and it led to all of the other developments that got us out of the Stone Age and into the current era where we are. Now, there are various social and cultural effects. This sort of dives into the historical basis as well, which is below historical basis for inequality. I think that we'll cover sort of the history of colonization and how things got to where they are once again with the digital divide. These things all go hand in hand, so of course there's going to be a lot of correlation between these issues. There is a lot of historical context that simply goes out the door when being discussed in modern times, how the digital divide currently is. For instance, how did Africa and India get so impoverished in the first place? That will be covered in the presentation. And finally, we'll be discussing the ethical dilemmas that were involved with this process, where essentially how technology was being balanced in the first place, how we got to a point where so many people do not have access to this very important and widespread technology that's almost necessary to be a part of modern society nowadays. And with that, we'll go on to the next section, which is historical context and talking about the Industrial Revolution and then the colonization of Africa and Asia, primarily looking at Africa as the example here. But the Industrial Revolution led to a huge disparity where factory work became very common in Europe. It became very common for mass production to be the main way forward for them. And so with mass production, essentially, they were able to develop steel and steam locomotives and steam ships, which allowed them to then sail and get to other parts of the world they were not connected to before and reap them of all of their benefits. Essentially take all the natural resources of Africa, take all the natural resources of India. For instance, all of the crown jewels in England are from India originally, which is quite interesting. And I don't think that's ever going to be returned. So that's just one of many examples where European powers took advantage of the colonized countries they entered. And because they were leaps and bounds ahead technologically, they were able to just succeed over and over again and just absolutely destroy any opposition with their superior technology. And over time, the colonization of Africa and Asia led them to levels of decline and poverty that's just still in place today. And it's only now that India and Africa are beginning to fight back against these processes that are occurring to them. But unfortunately, even now, both of them are still recovering. And Africa in particular has needed much more help, just with being such a large landmass of so many different countries. While India, for instance, is a singular country, despite being one of the most populous countries in the world, if not the most populous now in 2024, it's gone through a lot of struggle and a lot of strife to get to where it has been now. Um, Modern tidings. So this is some of the significance of technological progress and the digital divide and how things are going. In modern times, the rise of AI has led to new potential disparities and solutions for these problems. In one way, it definitely will provide better security and stability and convenience for the people in society, create better systems of control, better systems for medical surveillance and medical care, provide better information to people at a much faster and informative rate than before, and much more tailored to the user. The issue is that the minority that already has access to the internet will have a greater benefit and a greater use of knowledge and power over the people who do not. And this has a great potential to worsen the digital divide by a large margin, because it's going to give people with access to technology even more benefits over the people who don't, which becomes almost oppressive in a sense. And on the other hand, if AI is used in the right way, if tech companies take the right approach, AI can actually be used to bridge that divide. However, this is unlikely due to corporate and political interests that are simply pushing the other direction. Even otherwise, internet access disparity allows opportunities and career options to those who have it rather than those who don't. 80 to 90% of jobs now are listed on the internet only. So those without internet access are hugely affected and simply do not have the ability to compete. Now we'll cover some of the ethical dilemmas that people are facing in regards to this issue. The utilitarian approach is essentially that people want more benefits with less suffering for the majority. So in this case, I believe that this sort of takes the stance of the digital divide being bridged, where now that we have technology and some level of stability with it, more people should have access to it. More people should have these tools, especially from countries that have been so wronged in the past, where we should definitely be helping them out to make up for the historical disparity. Then there's the pragmatic approach, which would basically say that technology has always moved forward. It will continue to move forward. It is a stable process that we can put our all into, rather than charity, which has been historically quite inaccurate and not the best approach at all times. Sometimes stability is all that's needed. And so the pragmatic approach would say that that is the best approach forward, and that the utilitarian approach in this regard would simply be the wrong take. Unfortunately, we see results where bureaucracy gets in the way of progress over and over again. For instance, Elon Musk was trying to provide Starlink to people in rural areas, which would allow them internet where they would never be able to get it in a very, very long time without it. Unfortunately, the FCC got in the way of this and blocked that movement because they did not see the value in it. And they also had issues with Elon Musk that sort of led to political strife. Additionally, Britain took down their library system because it was inconvenient for them, and taxpayer money was going to locations they didn't care about, despite the fact that it affected millions of people and destroyed many community centers. But with the increase in technology, it is true that safety and convenience will increase given enough time. However, if we bridge the digital divide, that may happen at a quicker rate. Other groups are also attempting to bridge the divide in their own way through charity work and so on. But if it's not done on a structural and systemic level, it's unlikely that big changes will be made to move forward. Lastly, we'll cover the global impacts, which essentially we can give two great examples. Britain was worsening their own conditions for little true benefit, meaning they were destroying their own community centers, lowering the access for technology, while remaining at an economic plateau, if not even a small decrease in the last few years. India, however, has been increasing their global economy, their impact on it, developing a faster rate of technological distribution, and therefore getting a faster distribution and production of goods and services. And simply, they are growing every single day. And despite having the largest population in the world, they are advancing forward slowly, 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 but much quicker than ever before. And this is all due to bridging the digital divide. So conclusions are that obviously technology is very important and the effort should not stop, but more priority needs to be given to bridging the digital divide for maximum progress. Therefore, balance is necessary. And a balance has to be found between these two processes, which is not in place right now. Technology benefits society either way, but it can be put to better use in bridging the divides and making the world more equitable. And that will be it. Now we'll just take a look at our references, which are just two sources on the Industrial Revolution, a chart on the colonization of Africa, not letting AI become the newest digital divide, digital exclusion hurting the life chances of millions in Britain, how Elon Musk should have been given the right to provide Starlink to people in the USA, so closing the digital divide should be more important than playing favorites. The office is trying to help the digital divide. And are we bridging it, or are we inviting digital doom? And this article also covers India and its ability to move forward. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. Have a great day.